Hello, everybody. My name is Nolan Brewer, and welcome to Artist Corner. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Jay Tholen.
Hey, sorry about the big yawn right when you start your thing. Hi.
Maybe I need to be a bit louder. I'm just kidding.
Oh, oh,
But if you're not familiar with Jay's work, he has worked on his own games, such as Hypnospace Outlaw, Dropsy, Slayer's X, and the unfortunately canceled Dreamsettler. And I'm really looking forward to today's chat. Thanks for joining me today.
yeah, thanks for having me.
What's a story about the internet at a young age that particularly impacted you?
Hmm. Yeah, I got this. Like you sent me your questions, and I was wondering, did you mean when the internet was a young age or when I was a young age?
I
I think
mean,
that's both the
when
same.
you were a
But
young age.
oh, okay. Yeah. I thought about this a little bit. There are like many. Um, could it be a negative impact?
Sure. Yeah.
So in one good thing was I was in this game making community from when I was a little guy, really young, pretty much when I first got a computer and got the internet. I was in this game making community with this software called Click and Play. And it was just a really healthy thing for me. I think I didn't have at the time it was healthy anyway, and I didn't have much of a social life. I was kind of nerdy in school, and I met friends online and was able to learn all kinds of things about making games, like things I still use today, like pixel art before the term was codified, really. And I was on a pixel art forum called Pixelation. I think it was the first one, maybe, and all kinds of stuff like that. And that was great. But on one of these community websites for the game making community was this sort of subset of really sassy teenagers who were like really nowadays you would probably think of 4chaners, or they're very abrasive and very just jerks, I guess. And of course I was the right age to think that's really cool, and they were all posting on a website called somethingawful.com, and they were all posting on the forum there. And so I was 16, maybe 15, 16, and I thought everything was so funny. Like all these things I grew up around, like redneck things, they were like kind of making fun of, and I've never seen anyone sort of do that before, even though I had always thought this stuff was kind of cheeseball. Like anyway, and and so that just appealed to me, and it felt like a group to be a part of, I guess. So I joined, and it for like a couple years, it really made me a jerk. Like it kind of changed my thinking patterns. I was very cynical. I would like look at everyone else at school like they were and think, oh, these people are a bunch of idiots. I have my internet group and we're very smart, and these people suck and we're cool. And like, I was just looking back, it was like I could finally somehow be valued or cool or something in some way. And so that I was really grabbing onto that and like, making it my identity or something. But yeah, that's one thing that impacted me big time is like getting on something awful at like a way too young age, because a lot of the things there are very you know some famous things came from there that are not so safe for work, and like I probably shouldn't have seen those things when I was like 15 years old or something. But yeah, that had a big impact on me.
Would you consider that website to have a lot of trolling on it?
Oh, they were big trolls. Yeah, they were famously trolling people. Like they would go into games and grief them. I was part of this. Do you know Habbo Hotel by any chance?
I don't think so.
Okay, it was an isometric pixel art, sort of a multiplayer flash game, and it was kind of like a life semi thing. Like you could dress up and you'd go hang out. It was kind of an interactive chat room where you'd go in these different rooms, and but it was very easy to just block people. And so they made up a thing called the Grays, or the cult of the Gray cult, where you just picked all gray options for your guy and a bald head. So everyone looked. We were part of this fake cult, And we'd go into rooms and just like clog everything and try to get people to join our cult and stuff like that. And maybe like with our little isometric bodies spell out things or whatever, or stage fake protests about things, or just grief people and stuff like that. But that one I found clever because it wasn't just people going in there yelling obscenities, posting obscene pictures as something awful guys did. But it was like there was an actual like set of like fake cult presets and things that we were trying to spread. It was all joke stuff, but it was like, you know, there was a consistency to it that I thought was fun. But yeah, lots of trolling. I didn't do the hardcore trolling, but the stuff like that I was okay with.
That stuff sounds wholesome to me.
That part was a little cute. Some of them took it too far, but that
Yeah, I
part
can
was okay.
imagine.
It was annoying. I like if I was like a 13-year-old who was signing on there every day to talk to my friends and I couldn't reach them because of a bunch of gray guys were standing in the way,
Yeah.
like that would suck. But it was pretty gentle for something awful. So yeah,
Sorry if I make you feel old at all in this interview, by the way, but I was born in 2004 and I don't know much about the old internet. What things do you miss most about it?
I know I'm old. Um, it's fine.
You can always be young at heart.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I know. I don't really. I would like to think that I am, but who knows? Okay, so let's see. Does that just mean not being grouchy? If that's true, then I'm mostly young at heart.
Yeah.
So I would say the thing I miss the most, it's kind of boring, but the general, hmm, it was before it was co-opted by the powers. So that sounds like dramatic, but like back then, like the people who could actually do the most online were the people with the most knowledge and not necessarily the people with the most money. Like the
Mm.
people with money could try their best, but back then, because now this is a downside, search was pretty crappy. Like actually finding what you wanted was difficult. It could take all day to find one piece of information. But because of that, and because the internet didn't start with monetization in mind, it took a while for them to figure out how to like make everything to where it's just trying to sell you stuff. So that's what I miss. I miss going to a website and it wasn't someone's hustle where they're trying to survive. So they have ads everywhere. And so
Mm.
like, I don't blame people for doing this hustle stuff where they have ads everywhere or whatever they have to do. But because back then, like it wasn't a place you go to make money. Like your options were limited there. Like to do card processing was a whole opaque thing. And it was, until PayPal uh, was ubiquitous, it wasn't really a thing. So yeah, you go to websites and it's simply, they're big corporate entities who of course have money to put their stuff online, and you can tell a corporate page when you see it because it's usually has money behind it, like some fancy designers and stuff. But most websites were because someone was interested enough in sharing, taking time to write or share something about themselves or something they're interested in. And for a while, I would say until the early 2000s, that's kind of what the internet was. Maybe not exclusively homepages, but later on forums were kind of a main way for that to happen, and then blogs after that. Um, yeah. So, but the general internet, I think I miss forums, um, because everything's closing down and moving to Discord. So many forums I used to visit are like, we've closed, we're at Discord, which is, I know they're working on it, I guess, but it's a private entity that has all of this information in it, and it's not really, you can't use a search engine to find anything. You just have to use Discord to find things on Discord. And it's just it's going to be a little sad, I think, in 20, however many years, when like something happens and just all of this stuff is lost. Like it's inevitable, I think, unless
Yeah.
they really get it together. Whereas an old forum, like I'm browsing these forums from when I was from like the late 90s, from when I first got online. Some are still online in archived mode or in like closed down mode usually, but like some of them are even still functional. No one posts on them, but the thing is I can search my old username in Google or another search engine and then like a word and then find myself from 20 something years ago. Whereas in Discord, I kind of doubt. Well, first of all, you can't do that now. You can't, there's no easy way to search everything on Discord and find one particular post. Whereas if it's indexed on a search engine, you can do that. So I guess I just miss that was just better. So I miss that. Yeah.
You actually answered another question I had within that answer.
Oh,
I was going to ask if you think that Discord, if there's going to be something better than Discord coming in the next decade or so.
my hope for Discord is that I don't think it'll happen, but that they like move to a web architecture and like, or at least make their content archived and searchable through some kind of browser um, format instead of having to be logged into Discord. Yeah. Yeah. Tricky. I imagine they can't do that, but
What do you enjoy about the internet nowadays?
uh, there are things. So the actual internet side of it is a big mess. So not much of that, but like I said, information is hyper accessible now. Like Wikipedia is still really good. And if I want to learn something, I can find many both text and YouTube video tutorials of pretty much anything I need to learn. And many times they're really well done. Someone cared. And so that's something I like. Um, yeah.
Do you ever go on cities at all?
Yeah, I go on there infrequently. I do like to look at it every now and then, but I worry that it's too tied to like a nostalgia cycle.
Hmm.
Like once people tire of this old web aesthetic, it'll happen. Like people move on to something else, then like people just might not post there anymore. I would really like for there to be like a broader movement of people simply running their own home pages and like linking to each other and stuff like that. I know this sounds like maybe archaic or silly, but like every little bit to like move everyone off of social media and like somewhere else that's just controlled by us and not by big entities, I think would be really nice, like and really good for everyone. So yeah, that's the only thing that I'm the people who run NeoCities, nothing against them or nothing like, and it's good. It's good if you have a site there. Even like I do enjoy browsing them, but almost everything has that. Maybe you could say almost hypnospacey aesthetic GeoCities. Um, and I like that look, but I'm worried that it's like tied to this point in time, and then once that the sun sets on that, then it'll just be a graveyard and no one will be doing anything anymore. Once everyone gets jobs and gets too busy to do anything, then it'll be just nothing. Hopefully not. Hopefully it like starts to command a broader audience and stuff. But yeah.
Did you program your own website with HTML and all that?
Yeah, I did. I use a deprecated for non-programmers and non-technical people. Deprecated means like it's not supported anymore, like way
Hmm.
of doing it, which is I just make tables in HTML, and it's how I learned in 2003 or whenever I learned 2002, 2003. And yeah, I just use make it HTML is quicker for me. There are really only 10 or 11 total tags that I need to use. and I know all of them like the back of my hand, so I can just type out a page, and it's very simple. Um, I spent more time. I was looking for like a different solution, and I was going to learn the fancier, responsive way to make it good on mobile, but I just didn't feel like it. Like it,
Hmm.
just zoom in on mobile, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, just in Notepad, and then I put the image, or Notepad plus plus is what I use actually. So
Are you
it's a fancy
familiar?
Notepad.
Are you familiar with CSS too?
Yeah, but I have an aversion to it. Like I should use it. Maybe I do use it a little on the website. I don't remember. But for some reason, I always just prefer typing everything in one chunk at a. No, I do use it. I use it for some things. I use
Hmm.
it for the formatting of certain fonts, and because I wanted to use my own fonts, so I had to upload them on my server and then reference them through CSS or JavaScript up there. But it's through CSS that defines everything. So yeah, a little bit I'm using it.
Did you do all the artwork for the site too?
Yeah, I did all the artwork. And yeah, that's I like that sort of photo bashed and then color reduced look. Uh yeah, those are to the rip. Those are to the Dreamsettler palette. I think those are the graphics are sort of color reduced and dithered to the Dreamsettler palette, which yeah.
Speaking of Dreamsettler,
Ah, dang it.
is
I
there
gave you a
anything
segue.
i- is there anything that you can share about Dreamsettler gameplay wise that hasn't been shared yet?
There are things that we didn't that I haven't told anyone. Do you
Whatever you feel comfortable sharing
did
too.
you did you play Hypnospace
I played through halfway or
halfway?
so. Yeah, I'm still trying to beat it.
Okay, then I will not tell you. Sorry. I will say that there was a 3D section to it, and you were going to be able to explore a defunct service that was referenced in Hypnospace called Cyber Worlds at the state at which it died. And the game's cold open was going to open in Cyber Worlds, which was referenced in Dreamsettler. Some of the characters from from Hypnospace, I mean, some of the characters from Hypnospace were users of it, and they referenced it in Hypnospace.
Hmm.
So that's something I never announced because still might use that idea one day. Yeah, that might be the surviving element. But no, we had tons of music though. I told everyone that though. Um, that's the only new hot thing I can tell you. There wasn't much else going on there really other than that.
I have another segue too. I wanted to ask about speaking of music, I wanted to ask about the soundtrack cover art for Hypnospace Outlaw and what inspired that.
I like you're not thinking about anything I'm saying. You're just saying, where can I put a segue? Okay, anyway, okay. So what about Cool Punk, you said?
No, the soundtrack cover art.
Oh, the soundtrack cover art.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going off the questions list I gave you a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I had them like vaguely in my mind, so I thought you said Cool Punk. Okay, so no, the cover art. Um, there are many inspirations, probably from like the Consumer Aesthetics Research Institute. They categorize a lot of these like Global Village Coffee House and a lot of these. But those covers were just me in Photoshop or GIMP, some photo editor, GIMP probably, and Sprite, my pixel art editor, just messing around. And then that's all it was, I think. And seeing what looked good, kind
Mhm.
of, you know. Um, I used a lot of elements from the game and a lot of and that sort of transition screen when you jump to a different date. I used some assets from that too, which is has a little bit of I don't know, Memphis look to it slightly. It's kind of funky. Yeah.
Hmm.
One thing I guess I'll say about the general aesthetic of Hypnospace, especially in promotional materials and like, is that I used a lot of tiled backgrounds as like textures, like really like like the 32 by 32 or 64 by 64 tiles that were in the backgrounds of many GeoCities websites, like snow or stars or a checkerboard pattern or wood, or, and I used a lot of those and silhouetted them and masked them and stuff. So that was part of it too, to just kind of make it fundamentally GeoCities feeling or
Hmm.
old internet feeling. Yeah.
Would you say texture is as important in visual art as it is in music?
Yeah. I don't have much to say other than yeah. It's a pretty broad, both of those are broad
Yeah.
concepts, could mean a lot of things. But yeah.
Since you mentioned cool punk earlier, how does one invent a genre such as cool punk?
Are you do you have a scoreboard? Okay, anyway. For segues. Okay. Pretty good.
Now I
Okay.
do,
Good. Ding.
because it's
Okay.
funny.
Okay. Now you should edit this before it gets up and add a segue counter. Okay, anyway. Okay. So that's so fun, like making up genres. So it really there's nothing challenging about it. Like with cool punk, I was like, well, the original idea was like I want to do a sort of there are many things before vaporwave that had that sort of nothing as big as vaporwave, but that had that sort of um I don't know what you call it, like a mild youth movement almost, where it's like people identify with it or and put it on their backpack or have a t-shirt or whatever, and and it just kind of takes off in a little small pocket of culture, and then it kind of like waves in the sea. They come and they go very quickly. And so cool punk, I wanted to be one of those, a micro genre that just started and faded quickly. And um sometimes when they get quite large, like hyper pop was one that took off and got quite large. Corporate entities and like the powers kind of notice, and then they start to use it in marketing or whatever. And at that point, if it wasn't already dead, it's going to soon be dead when that starts happening. What people there's just like there seems to be like a reaction to this culturally, where the people who actually really were into it or cared about it, after it become it's promoted by, you see it in like the mall, shopping mall, in a big advertisement or something. God, I'm really dating myself with that. No one goes to a shopping mall. Okay, you know what I mean. uh then it goes away because it's just like it's nothing anymore. It's not our own little thing anymore. Now it's just your grandpa seeing it on TV. So it's not cool anymore. So I wanted to do that with something. And then really what the thing is can be anything though. So I was like, oh, how about Christmas? Old Christmas commercials that made people feel nostalgic, like uh the Coca-Cola trucks, or I don't know what. The Budweiser also has a truck, and there's also a gas station truck, Hess trucks. Why are there so many Christmas trucks? Anyway, and but all these commercials that people feel nostalgic about, the polar bears with Coca-Cola and all this stuff. And all of this is just like private people trying to sell a product, kind of injecting things into the culture. And so I was thinking it would be fun to just make up one of those. And Christmas was rife for this. I hadn't found one of these in real life, so I was like, okay, Christmassy stuff, Christmassy sounds, maybe. Um, a lot of spring reverb, which is here. I'll move my camera. This is a spring reverb tank. You see these?
Mm.
Um, so you it's a really old analog effect in many amps, but it's like a reverb effect, and it has a little watery, it gives everything a watery tone to it, sort of like it was in surf rock even a lot. The I don't know. Anyway, so I used a lot of spring reverb, and I ran a lot of the tracks through this spring reverb, and and then I thought, oh, I think it would be fun to like take this and then the people who are interested in this and then and it's not only like the cultural things, but yeah, like Spring Reaver, but also tones and like the samples they're using. So then I was like having fun like inventing a fake drum machine and a fake kind of synthesizer and stuff like that that the people in this world used often in this genre of music. And then it's fun to take things into account too, like this is like a cheap unit because this is just kids in their bedroom. They wouldn't be having the fancy stuff. And that's why this sound got so popular. It's not necessarily that the sound was like great or anything, it was just what was available. And, or a sample pack got released free in Hypnospace or online. And so everyone started using these samples. And you would just hear these samples or these effects because of their availability all the time in this sort of these sort of micro genres that like young people are into a lot. Um, and it gives it all this cohesion because they're using the same stuff, resources, and they're influenced by each other and by like this vague aesthetic of like Christmas. And then like it was fun making those branch into other micro genres. Like from there, split off the guy who started cool punk, which wasn't called cool punk when he did it. He was making a critique of a cola company, and with his song about these snowmen who are like in a cult kind of, and they're begging you to drink up their soda and stuff, and it's kind of weirdly like culty and sensual in an uncomfortable way, and they're like drink it up, stuff like that. And but people took that and like over time, if you haven't played Hypnospace, the cola company ends up noticing and they're like, "Hey, here's the cola company you guys love. We're here." And then everyone's like, "Oh no." And especially the guy that made it, he was like, "Ah, crap, what?" Now I'm promoting the cola company. And so he actually took their money, but then he was ashamed about it and he kind of ditched the whole thing and he started something called Fungus Scene, which uses a lot more spring reverb because it's drippy and a lot and it's supposed to sound like in a cave. So it was supposed to sound a little grosser, like it a little wet and like you're in a dank place. Yeah. And so all the sonic elements were informed by that, like um the feeling of being in a cave or in a grotto or something like that. Yeah, a mossy place.
I'm excited to get to that part in the game, by the way. Sorry I haven't finished it yet before doing the interview, but
Oh no, you're cool. Oh, and if you need a hint, search hint in the game. There's a hint guide. So
oh, I didn't know that. Thanks.
yeah, it's
I
contextualized as you from the future giving yourself a hint. So it's like it uses your username you typed in, and it's like Nolan's page to help you from the future or something like that.
the first time I ever found out about the game was actually through the soundtrack, and I've been listening to it since I was in high school. So
No way. So you listened to the soundtrack before and
actually
never played
playing,
the game.
yeah.
Did you watch it at all, or
I did watch, I think I watched Germa play some of
you
it.
watched Germa? Yeah,
Yeah,
that was fun watching him. But I wish he played the new version because he played the launch version, which has not as much stuff in it. Yeah.
yeah. He's a funny guy.
Oh, he's a really I respect that guy a lot because he didn't turn it into a big hustle thing. Like
Hmm.
he made a living on it, but he just did whatever came into his head, and it was just he didn't make a big professional like thing out of it. He's just doing whatever.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he just stops. And then sometimes he starts again. And he's just uninterested in making a big business out of it, which I
Hmm.
really, really like. Yeah.
He also seems, from what I've seen I've seen clips of him on other events and stuff, and he seems really humble about things too.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, you can tell. I mean, he has this persona where he has a slightly cocky thing he does, but I think in real life he seems to be quite a humble person. You can
He's
tell through his performance a little bit.
he's someone you can actually have a chat with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there any new genres planned for Dreamsettler?
Yeah, there was one called Ew. There were multiple. One called Ew, which was like an evolution after fungus scene, like a few steps removed, where the whole point is to make stuff that is so gross and so disgusting and so nasty. All that means the same thing. That um no company would ever want to use it to promote anything. It's just so yucky and gross. And so that's the point. But when that's the whole thing about your genre, the fun part of this for me was it leads to a lot of infighting because if you make a song and it's even at all like a little bit catchy, there's something pleasant in it. Oh, like then other people are gonna be like, dude, that's not ew. Like that chorus sounds great. Like that's so catchy. You have to make it suck more and stuff. And so like it would basically it's like a race to the bottom in terms of like just making it less more and more like awful and less listenable. And I was gonna make it splinter in a few ways. Like I didn't get to this point, but where people are just uh you got some people just making pure noise mixed with farts and burps and stuff, and just abrasive and very difficult to listen to, screeching and stuff like that. And then some people just making pop songs with like burps and then them hating each other for it. Stuff. So,
To be fair, are you ever a true musician unless you make a fart song?
oh, one of my first songs was a yeah. Me and my sister used to make little songs on the computer. If any of those ever got unearthed, that was back when you said gay a lot, to as to mean lame. So I probably in my freestyles, of which there were a few, probably said that too much, but also probably some burps and farts and whatever. Our house was full of like butt and poo jokes and stuff, so it's like, yeah.
I think my first song on the SoundCloud is a fart song. So
Wait, is it called a fart song?
no, it's not called that.
Oh,
It's
oh,
I named
but it
it
has
I named it Banger in all caps.
and it has fart samples. Okay, well, yeah, good. I did that in a tracker. I think Mod Plug Tracker was my first um, music tool, and I'm almost certain I did a fart. I just recorded myself farting and then changed the pitch a lot. Yeah.
It also reminds me, I have a friend I collaborated with. He goes to Berkeley in Boston too.
Oh,
And
dang.
we made a song together, and at the end he put a fart sound in it, and it somehow worked.
I mean, it probably often works, really.
It can
Do you
work.
do
Yeah.
you go to music school or anything like that?
I'm
Or are you
studying
interested in that?
I'm studying audio engineering in community college.
Cool. Oh, that is so the right way. Oh, man. Anyway, we won't talk about university and stuff, but yeah, I really envy. I didn't do any college or anything like that. I just dropped out of high school, but I envy on behalf of my sister who did get a music degree. Uh she I think she would have been better off. I think she also thinks so. Just do it. She did community college at first and then moved to university. And man, community colleges rule
Yeah.
generally. Yeah. But anyway, enough of that.
I am thinking about going to university after though, but
I mean, sure, but I think my sister, her thing was she entered, it was like opera, and it's extremely competitive and extremely
mm,
like there's no like you're not going to be creative in opera. You have to just do it more or less correct, basically. And
yeah.
so if the handful of people in the program are just a little bit more committed to the craft or better than you or whatever, I would put it as more committed to the craft because you could probably hurt yourself practicing all the time and getting into the craft and then just get really good at it. But I mean, but anyway, it's just it can destroy you because like it messes with your confidence and your. But yeah,
That's
and
true.
there's no creative part of it. It's just like getting better. And then if you stop practicing, you just get worse. But when you do composition or production, like it's a big, broad field with many choices that you can make. So
Hmm. I kind of feel like the music I make, if I showed it to my audio engineer, he would probably, I mean, my audio engineer professor, he would probably have a very objective view on what a good mix and a bad mix is, too.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. It's good that someone would have a would have that kind of temperament. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to get different opinions on things, too.
Yep.
Why did Chosen become Slayer's ex?
Oh yeah. Choosing chosen. Oh yeah. Choosing heaven over sin, evil's nightmare. Oh no, choosing holiness over sin, evil's nightmare. That's what that game is. The acronym stands for. And anyway, that became Slayer's X because I'll be very honest here. I was working on Dreamsettler. We got that game signed, and I wanted so much because I already started it. I was already partway into it. I wanted so much to make a first person shooter in the style of Doom, Duke Nukem, Blood. I just really wanted to do it. And so I don't think I could have justified it if it wasn't Hypnospace adjacent. And so I was like, I already did have the idea to have Zane make a mod of Cataclysm though, but I was gonna do that as a small one-off 3 levels or something and just put it out for free. And and but so after Dream Settler was signed, I think the only way I could have justified the diversion away from working on Dream Settler is if it's tied into the world, and I thought my publisher would be interested in it that way, and he was interested in it that way. So if it was just like the Christian game, that does have a Dream Settler or a Hypnospace tie because it is in Chosen is also in Hypnospace, but not like people know Zane. The Chosen page is kind of hidden deep in the game, so you can't really find it easily. And Zane's just personality is so everyone when they play they talk about Zane mostly. So like um have an opinion on him anyway. And so I just thought it was perfect. And the sort of Matrix and Dragon Ball Z, those were the big things when I was that age, and new metal, you know. Um no not many games at the time had really gone into that particular like area and aesthetic area with lots of black and green. Yeah, so yeah, that's why because I just saw more of a future for it at the time as Slayer's X as a Zane game. I'm more interested in making the satirical Christian shooter because I think well, it's just more meaningful to me, and I think I can do a lot more with the humor with Slayer's X. I was pretending to be Zane while developing it, so I was making choices he would make, and I don't know. I think Zane would not make a good game really. And um so I was like wrestling with myself. Do I make this level kind of suck like Zane would, or do I polish this part that he wouldn't actually care about and make it good? And I erred on the side of making it good. Like this game would have been a lot crustier if I was really pretending to be Zane. Like in fact, he would probably see it more as a hustle and just like knock out a bunch of levels and not really put much attention to detail in there and stuff. So yeah, that's why it Chosen became Slayers because it was just more directly Hypnospace related, and I also was already having a pretty bad time with Dreamsettler development at the time, so I wanted to work on the thing that I already was wanting to work on before. So yeah.
It's funny you say that people always talk about Zayn and have an opinion of him because when I was playing Hypnospace and I got to the part with Zayn, my friend was talking about how cool he is.
Yeah, Zane would have been aspirational for me. I would have been like, oh, I want to be like that guy. If I met him, if I was like the grade below him or something. If I was the same grade as him, I probably would have thought he was a little, you know. But if I was one below him, I would have been like, "Oh, he's so cool." Especially if I was like in middle school and he was in high school, then
Oh
he would
yeah.
have been awesome probably. But yeah.
Were there any real counselors that inspired Counselor Ronnie
Mhm.
or people?
Nah, not real people, just that general like thing where like a company would make up a character. And I was thinking camp counselor, kind of like when I thought of him, but a character that did inspire him heavily is, Jinko jeans, JNCO. Those are the big baggy jeans from the late 90s and early 2000s that people wore back then. The they tried to come back, but they would have been very popular had they come back at the right time, but they came back too early. They tried coming back in like 2017 or
Hmm.
16, and that's before the wave of baggy jeans started again. But um but they had a mascot guy, a little, they called him Flamehead or Firehead or something like that, JNCO if you want to Google it. And Flamehead, I think. And I had a few comics with him in it. And I was inspired by that sort of slightly edgy. He has thick outlines, almost looks like a Flash cartoon in some ways. So it's that early 2000s sort of thick outline style. But no real people other than just general, like generic, hey, I'm a cool guy, Bob from Pizza Hut, reminding you not to do drugs, or, like that. But no real, he was always supposed to not really be a real person. He was always just supposed to be you know, some kind of fake guy telling you not to do drugs. Yeah.
He kind of reminds me, I don't know if you've seen Amazing World of Gumball, but there's the counselor in that show that's kind of similar, and it's pretty funny.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
I forget the character's name, but I mean, there's only one counselor in the show, so.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Do you have any cooking tricks that you didn't share in the game?
Those I had to ask someone or something. Oh wait, no, those cooking tricks like about microwaving stuff.
Yeah.
That is a terrible. I used to do that. I used to put eggs in a mug and like mix them up with a little milk and put them in the microwave and scramble them that way instead of a pan, which is really, I wouldn't do that anymore. It's not as good. Let's see, cooking tricks. No,
I
I'm
could
the
really
worst.
use some since I'm in college.
Let's see. I'm not a good resource. You don't call like a game developer and ask for cooking tips most of the time. But Mike Lash, who's the coder, he's really good at cooking apparently. So you could ask him, but not
Ooh.
me. Yeah.
I did actually, I saw your video on Dreamsettler, and I did reach out to Mark LaCroix
Uh-huh.
because I have a project that I think would be fun with him, and he seems like a good programmer.
Yeah. He's a good programmer for sure.
Yeah, they both seem cool.
Hmm.
What's your favorite David Bowie album?
Mm. That is so hard because I almost look at the different like time periods as different bands or projects or something. So in no particular order, I have five. I'm sorry, but
That's allowed.
okay. So maybe my favorite one, and it's only because of a few songs, is Space Oddity, his first album, or is it his first? Maybe. Because I love the title track, Space Oddity, and I like Signet Committee or something like that. It's like a 9-minute track on there, and just those two tracks make it for me. There's other great songs. Oh, the Wild Eyed Boy from Free Cloud may also be on there. If that's on there, then that might be my favorite album. Like the symphonic orchestration in that song is just like really good. But Oh, in memory of a free festival. Oh my God. Yeah, Space Oddity might be my favorite. But Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, that's another one. That's a little more less experimental than Space Oddity. It's a little more I like the dry drums and like everything's kind of feels like it's right there. Kind of almost a punk recording quality to it, like really in your face recording quality. Station to Station I like. It has a few of Bowie's like he was having some drug stuff at the time and has one of his two or three Christian religious songs on there. So he has like two or three of those, and that's one of them. Word on a Wing is on that. So I always like when an artist dips into some Christianity, just uncharacteristically, perhaps. So and Station to Station just has is good in general, and then Low, uh, the Bowie albums where he worked with Brian Eno. I like all of them, but Low I think is my favorite. I like the sort of ambient stuff on there, and then Black Star, his last album. Black Star, if it wasn't so depressing, might be like musically might be my favorite album. Oh my gosh, so much cool stuff on there. Like Lazarus and the saxophone work and stuff. It's just a beautiful album, but it's extremely depressing. So I can't listen to it very much. It's like a man knowing he's dying, and that's why it's such a good album though too. Like very rare for there to be a late career album that is so full of I don't know, it feels like a lot of these bands in their later in their career, it feels like they're phoning it in, just popping them out to and this one just has weight to it and it feels like a real statement. Like it I could put it up against any of his stuff when he was in his 20s and 30s, but yeah, Black Star is really good. So those are my five favorite David Bowie albums.
Did you ever see the video of that astronaut playing Space Oddity?
I did. That was cool.
Yeah. You mentioned artists going to kind of a religious phase too, almost uncharacteristically.
Yeah.
The first person I thought of was Bob Dylan when you said that too.
Oh yeah, I was just looking up his what was it, Train album? Yeah. He had Saved is one album and Slow Train Coming, something I forgot, something like that. A train is coming. I don't know. Yeah. Gotta Serve Somebody is on there. Yeah, I remember my dad talking about that. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few that there's some of that. And Black Sabbath
Mm.
has like a handful of just straight up Christian songs, weirdly. Um I guess Ozzy had his Catholic side, I guess. And then yeah, what was it? Blind Guardian, also the power metal band from Germany, also has some random Christiany songs. I don't think they had a Christian phase. I think they're more interested in theological topics. That's why that is. But still, it's interesting because that stuff's super polarizing, and people often are just afraid to. I ain't messing with that. So I like when it's either interests people enough to make a song about it, and it's understandable, or they actually believe it and they're like kind of touching on it somewhat. But it's understandable given the it's depressing given the United States and American Christianity. I don't know, kind of
Yeah.
depressing to me, but it's understandable that people would want to stay away, I guess. Yeah.
As someone who lives here, I can kind of feel it.
Yeah, it's very uh, yeah, makes me sad a lot. uh yeah, to see how that has worked out lately. Yeah.
I want to learn a little bit about Berlin. What's the food like over there?
So, how healthy do you eat?
It
Do you eat
depends.
donuts?
It depends. Yeah.
Okay. The donut situation here is terrible. You cannot find a real donut in this whole country. It's awful. Just weird, weird. It's bad. Don't eat a donut here. Eat one out of curiosity if you want, but it's bad. Okay. Also, milkshakes, they don't have like milkshakes. They have milkshakes, but it's like melted ice cream. Anyway, so basically, if you like, hmm, all right. So here's the thing, like all of my favorite stuff is very bad for me. Okay. So like it's good for me, but I'm want my stuff. Okay. So breakfast, they don't have a diner. They don't have diners. Um, they don't eat like hearty breakfasts like scrambled eggs or with sausage or maybe maybe sometimes they'll give you a hard boiled egg for breakfast. But the European breakfast, I don't know if you know about it, is like you go to the bakery and you get bread rolls and then you cut them and then it's basically lunch. You put lunch meats, you butter them, you put lunch meats and cheese, and you eat like an open faced sandwich with like the cheese and meat and or jelly, marmalade, or Nutella or something, and eggs. And sometimes they'll have hard boiled eggs and you can eat one. And coffees in the morning, that's good. But so the breakfast to me is just I want my greasy diner, greasy American breakfast. But okay, I'll stop complaining and I'll tell you about like what I do like. I like Döner, which is D-O with an umlaut, N-E-R. It's a Turkish thing that was brought here and popularized in Berlin. And it's like a kind of kebab type food with like a either a wrap or like a bread pocket where they scrape like the meat from the that rotating spit thing into the bread pocket and they put
Mm.
cabbage in there and tzatziki, which is like a garlicky yogurt sauce, and um other stuff, tomatoes, whatever. And that's really good. And there's also falafel, which is little chickpea, deep fried chickpea patties things. That's good. So I like that German Turkish food. And I like the hearty German traditional stuff, which is schnitzel and but that's and potato stuff, fries and stuff. But generally, I vastly prefer the USA, even though it's much healthier to be here in general. Like I miss our food. And oh, I forgot to tell you one more complaint. Mexican food. They
That's what
have
I was
no
thinking
idea.
of.
They have no idea what it is. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Do you know who Josh Sawyer is?
Nope.
He's the project director of Fallout New Vegas, but he's done other things.
Hmm.
He on on some social media, maybe Twitter, back when it was Twitter, posted about his adventures go visiting a Mexican restaurant in Germany, and he got a burrito, and they had chopped fresh cucumber chunks in it, and all kinds of weird stuff that you just do not put in a burrito. And I've had one of these kinds of things. I had the same exact experience. Like they have Tex-Mex restaurants, but it's like someone took pictures of what burritos look like and then was like, I guess we'll take a stab at what is inside it. And they were just like, it doesn't, and the salsa is not like this watery, it's like thickened.
Oh no.
It's like creamy. The salsa is creamy. It's so strange. But now I often like in Chinese food is also completely different, which I'm okay with because I kind of like their other style of Chinese food that's here. It's more to German tastes, I guess. I still prefer ours, but the Mexican stuff, I just cannot do it. It's just bad. And it's surreal. It's like you stepped in through a dimensional gateway and like to some weird place where they just make otherworldly cuisine. It's just so
Yeah.
strange. But I guess people here have a taste for their extremely fake Mexican food. And um, yeah, another point of confusion. I came here and they have a thing at the store called sour cream, literal, literally called sour cream in German. And so you think, oh, this is sour cream, which I like sour cream on my Tex-Mex food. And it's not. It's something else. It's weird. It's actually sour. And then the thing that you want is called schmand, schmand. That's sour cream. So it's so confusing because they have a thing called sour cream right in the same section with
What?
sour cream, but our sour cream is called schmand here. And so for years I was like, there's no sour cream. So now I can kind of, because Mexican food can be simple-ish, I can kind of get make my own, and then I have my sour cream, so I'm okay. I can just do my own. But going to a place, it's always really weird.
Yeah.
But now I'm like not a fan of the food generally. But the stuff from here is pretty good, and the bakery stuff also pretty good. Like the reason fast food isn't popular here is because there's bakeries on every corner. You just go to bakeries and get fresh bread and fresh pastries and stuff like that. I don't like the pastries as much as it's like a good donut, but they're pretty good sometimes.
I love that you brought in Mexican food because I get Mexican food probably twice a week. And
You
back
would
at home
suffer. You
in
would suffer.
Hawaii, it's also not that great to be honest.
Oh, maybe it's similar to here then. Maybe
Yeah,
do you think sometimes they don't have like sometimes they just don't have the stuff there?
I think
Like,
so. It's probably because they have to import stuff and all that.
yeah.
But
I'm curious. I know I shouldn't ask you questions, but are there any things in Hawaii that are like super expensive because it must be imported compared to like
mm,
mainland? Or
I don't know particular. I'm guessing cheese probably would be.
hmm, cheese? Okay,
But also
interesting.
just in general though, shipping stuff back at home is a bit more expensive than if I ship to my parents' place or whatever.
Yeah,
So
cool.
yeah, not really, but
Not cool.
are there any old Sims that you think aged well?
Let's see. Any old scents? But all of them, man. Like you can. It depends what you're going for, though. Like I love my first big interest in synthesizers was 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Well, 60s and early 70s synthesizers, but also like the tape machines, like Mellotron. Do you know Mellotron?
Yeah,
Yeah, Mellotron. And
the
just
Beatles
love
flute.
that. Yeah, the flutes or the choirs or the Genesis used in the 70s used a lot of the strings when they were proggy. And the brass sound sometimes. Yeah, very cool. I love the just strange tone of it. It's very so that's debatably it's a synthesizer, maybe the first sampler, but and then the mini Moog from back then and the Prophet and a lot of those early I was big into prog rock, so the 70s bands that had a big impact on me. So all the synths they used and I love the Rhodes electric piano and the Wurlitzer electric piano sounds from back then. Most famously, I guess the Logical song from Supertramp has a Wurlitzer electric piano. Um, and then for a long time, I hated 80s and 90s synthesis. I thought it was so cheesy. I only wanted 70s and before. I always hated 80s and 90s wavetable, FM synthesis, anything. Now I like it. Rompler stuff. I thought it was really cheesy, but then I cycled into thinking everything can have a can make a really interesting aesthetic statement or interesting sonic statement. So like or anything can fit. And so now I'm very you might say postmodern with my sound. Like I don't I think you can use anything and make it sound cool with what you're working on. I don't think I would mix. I don't think I would do mix like the 70s sound palette with like the Mellotrons and the old analog synthesizers with Rompler like the Korg M1, which I do love, or like that seems like a crime to me, but maybe I'll change that too. I don't know. And of course, I love one thing I think it's aged well is not really a synthesizer, but um, it is kind of the Super Nintendo sampler, and I love just the the limitations. And so there's a sound to these a very spare sound to the samples that were made for Super Nintendo games that is like a nice halfway between like a Rompler with like full long waveforms and like 8-bit sounds. It's like a nice halfway where you still get the some of the texture of the instrument, but it's not just pure waveforms blasted in your ears. So I love that Super Nintendo era, like or very very early samplers. Um, I think one the sound of one thing that is pretty distinct that has aged well is the what is it? The Herbie Hancock used it a lot, and they used it in Terminator. Um, I was just playing with it. Dang it. Anyway, it's like a really early computerized sampler. Fairlight, the Fairlight.
Oh yeah.
Really interesting kind of crusty tone from that. Because maybe the low sample rate or something that was going on there. But um, and another thing I like is this is debatably not synthesis, but like it's still computers. I don't know, but I love the sound of really old samples in sample libraries. Like you would buy a 500 sound effects CD or CD-ROM, and they were all to fit them all on the CD. They were all like low bit rate wave files, and you turn up the volume and you hear this hiss uh, at the end of the file because it's such a low quality file, and you just hear this hiss because the noise there's like a weird noise floor issue when you have a low bit rate file, and you can just hear this hiss instead of silence at the end, and it's just really cool to me. I like the sound of that. So yeah, I guess that answer is everywhere. But in terms of my faves, I think for Rompler, I love the Korg M1, which oh you mentioned this. Yeah, just so many I guess iconic sounds from that. The Seinfeld bass, the
There's the house piano too.
yeah, oh man, yeah, house piano. I love old tracker samples too, like that people used in old trackers. Yeah. If you go to the Mod Plug archive, is it Mod Plug archive? Yeah, or not Mod Plug, the Mod Archive. You can listen to a lot of these tracker songs, and I just love this the Amiga sort of old crusty. It's the same thing what I was saying. The 8-bit waves that have this crust to them. Yeah, it's interesting sound to me. But yeah,
There's also the wave station. That's pretty cool.
I'm not super familiar with the Wave Station. What kind of
Oh,
thing is it?
it's another ROM player. It's the same brand as M1.
Oh, it's a Korg.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if it was actually a hardware synth or not.
Oh, it was. It looks like it was.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
wasn't
another
familiar with that.
fun one.
Yeah. I like Rompler. I like the Romplers that let you do lots of silly stuff with the sounds, like modulate them in weird ways and uh yeah. And I really like a thing about it which I at one time didn't like. It's that like for most people they're not going to expand the library of sounds. They're just going to use what's on there. And so I like that because of that, like some of these sounds just become ubiquitous or you hear them in many productions and you're like, "Oh, I know that's from like your house piano." It just makes it kind of fun
Yeah.
as a listener so yeah, sometimes we'll be like one thing my wife used to do when I used to drive because now I don't have a car anymore. I don't need one here, but um uh is she would be like she would say Jay and she'd play a song and she'd be like, "What is that?" And she'd make me tell her like what a synthesizer is. And then I had a pretty good record of it. I think I was okay. But if it was a wave station, I wouldn't have been able to tell you because I didn't know about it.
It also depends on the genre, probably too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Roland. I also like the Roland D50,
Mm.
famously used by Enya on some of her songs. But it's really good at that sort of ethereal thing.
Do you ever design your own patches and stuff?
Yeah, a lot. I made an album of just all my own patches. This it's called New Active Object, and
Oh, I
it's
listened to
just
that.
oh, did you listen to it? Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
samples from the game making software I used as a kid, and I just found loop points like in a vocal recording, there's some fundamental musical information in a vocal recording, even if I'm just speaking. And if you set the loop points close enough, you can kind of get tones out of like any voice recording. So thankfully there are many voices in the saying great job and high score and stuff like that. So I was able to like make a bunch of
Ding.
patches just by really just making a tiny waveform out of the vocal recording. And so that was fun. Some like choir sounds too that way, where like if someone says, "Oh no," like I can take the no and just take the oh and like make it only and then so it's like a choir. Um, yeah. So that was a really fun project for that reason. And the lyrics are also about using the game making software. So I was really happy about that album because it felt like everything was like cohered in a way that I was very happy with, in a way that doesn't happen a lot, like with my stuff. So
Do you ever browse on Internet Archive for sounds?
I have, yeah. But there's a website. Is it called Text Files? That makes that easier because they've uploaded a bunch of the contents from CDs that they ripped, CDRs and stuff. I think that's what it is. Anyway, I have before, but it's hard to do because most of the time the WAV files weren't uploaded. There's a dead link. So
Mm.
there's certain like music forums where people have like chipmusic.org and Vogons and stuff. That's not really a music forum, but when Something Awful has like their music forum from ages long past. And in fact, Something Awful is now very relaxed. No one does anything interesting or mean or anything on there. Everyone's old. Anyway, I mean, I say that, but if you go to FYAD on that forum, everyone's probably still like that. But anyway, um, but they have the music subforums and stuff there, and sometimes I can find stuff just by searching there. And like often, one good thing though is like on the Internet Archive, if you do find a dead link, if it has like a distinctive file name, like Billy Sounds 22.zip, you can sometimes find it elsewhere by searching the file name. So,
That's a cool trick.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of I've found some cool 90s sample CDs from Internet Archive before. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah. Okay,
fun.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, that in that way I've downloaded some sample libraries on there. Yeah. I thought you meant like just searching through websites to find samples.
Oh,
But yeah,
sorry.
no, yeah. Yeah, sample CDs I've gotten, yeah. And early in Hypnospace, I was intending to use like image libraries and stuff like that until I realized that like sorry, there's a fly on my anyway, get out of here. Anyway, so so I was intending to use a lot of images from stuff like that, but they're all licensed, they're all have active licenses on them. Like someone bought the rights always. So you can never do that without paying someone an unreasonable amount of money. So now I was just like, whatever, we'll just make our own. And I use some open source stuff for Hypnospace, like that you can find online. But other than that, we just mostly made our own.
It's kind of interesting to think about because I'm learning more about the legal side of things too in school, but it gets a little complicated when things are so old and they're not even up anymore.
You can't even track. Yeah, I learned this kind of like I found some animated GIFs and I Googled the company that made the CD, and they weren't the company that held the rights anymore. And then through that, I somehow found my way through three or four different connections to the company that currently holds the rights. Oh, reverse image searching helped
Hmm.
because I found the GIF I was going to use on a list of mini GIFs on a website where it was all only about licensing. And it's like, you can use 10 of these for blah, blah, blah. And there's like a way too expensive. And it wasn't it video game. They didn't have prices if their stuff was going to be in a game. So you had to email them, and I emailed them, and they're like, okay, you can use 10 gifts for $1,000 in perpetuity, which at that time I was like, these are bad. I want them because they're bad. And I was like, I can just make my own. And I reached out to one guy. Well, shoot, his name's Dave, 3D artist Dave or something like that. What was his old name? Something with an acorn in it. Seven Oaks. Seven Oaks was his name back in the day. Now it's like Dave 3D GIF artist. Anyway, and but I emailed him asking for permission, and he kept the rights to all his stuff. And he said, "Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. These things are cheesy," or something like that. And back then, that was 2016, and that was a different time of my life. And now it's over. And then he just like came back, and now he's kind of like a meme. Partially, people just like really love him now, um, which is really cool. Not because of my game, I don't think, but just because it's in the air. This sort of enjoying this old internet look. So, but I was happy to see him return, and he was very kind to us. He just let us use his stuff for free. That was nice.
How did you meet the programmers that worked on Hypnospace?
So, um, there were two programmers. One was the main programmer, and the other one, that's Mike Lash, and the other one was that which is media, or Corey is his name. And he was someone I knew from around Orlando. I went to a game jam in Orlando and met him there in 2012 or 13. Anyway, so Mike Lash, though, I met through the Click and Play community, through the Click Team community. And that was this, like I said, the software I used when I was a kid to make games. But I don't think I knew him when I was a kid. I only met him maybe in 2014, 2015. I was making a little game, platformer, where you're a kid, a baseball player, kid kind of, and you can throw up balls and then like hit them at enemies. And but it's kind of like the game you play. What it was inspired by, like when you're by yourself and you just have a ball and a bat and you just kind of like throwing it up trying to hit it, and it's really hard and you can't really do it. So that's like kind of the game was kind of like that, and you could throw endless balls up, and they would kind of be up all up in the air and then go boop 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 boop, boop and then like hit a bunch of them at the enemies, which I thought was fun. Or you could like throw them up and then jump up and hit them, and it had physics fun and stuff. Anyway, he I hit like a brick wall with my abilities on that, and so I commissioned him to help me with that. Um, and that didn't go anywhere. It was hard. It was like it was too much like QWOP, in that it was like really hard to figure out how to effectively hit the balls, which is like that in real life, but it's fine. And so, but then whenever we had a good time working together, but then when I started making Hypnospace, I thought about him because it was fun to work with him, and then brought him on. And then the other dude, Corey, so Mike back then didn't really do coding. Like, so when we needed to extend the feature set of the engine or do any real deep stuff, Corey was like a programmer professionally, and uh, we brought him on to like fiddle with extensions or at like nitty gritty code stuff for Hypnospace. And those are the two how I met both of those guys.
Hmm. And then you've also talked about meeting the other programmers for Dreamsettler a bit in the
Yeah,
video you made.
For Dreamsettler, Corey couldn't do it anymore. He got a job offer, and that was we I was happy for him. And so then we put out a bunch of uh, a job thing, and then was the person that we chose, and then we brought him on. Yeah, but we just met him through he emailed us, and he hadn't actually played Hypnospace, or maybe he had. I don't remember. But yeah, and then we brought him on after. Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel bad for him. Like he worked a while on the game, and we paid him, but I think he was really hoping for it to pay off, and it didn't. So yeah.
I hope it can at least be a stepping stone for him to get more projects.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have no problem.
Do you improvise in your music too?
Um, Musically, okay, so that's tricky because like, how do you? I guess yes, sometimes, yeah, because composing can go either way. You mean during in the composition process,
Yeah.
or you mean like, you mean improvising?
I mean in the composition.
Okay. So yeah, sometimes it's just like, well, I wonder what this will do. I wonder what this will sound like. And you paste a bar over here, or you add some cut, you do some cut time, or you add some stuff, or you like transpose just like one chord up a half step and say, I wonder what this will do. And just like that kind of stuff. And so in that sense, yeah. But like so my process for music right now is I write MIDI, and I write like I pick my voices basically, bass, whatever, guitar, a chordal instrument, keys or whatever. Maybe I don't write for guitar though, so scratch that. But maybe later on I'll add some guitar, but that's usually after I've written a little piece and I'm like, oh, that would sound good as a guitar. But anyway, so I write everything in MIDI. That way I don't commit anything like sonically. Like I don't spend forever getting the right recording. It's all just cheap MIDI. Maybe sounds a little robotic, but it's all just for composition purposes. And then after I finish the MIDI and I'm happy with how it sounds as MIDI, then I go in and one instrument at a time, like replace it with sounds that I think are good and work. So that like usually I start with the drums and percussion and the bass, and then I slot everything else around those. And then usually also I write sometimes I do this. Like I wrote a vocal melody also in MIDI because I know my range. Well, I think I know my range until I try. Like sometimes I'm like, la la la. Okay, yeah, I got it. And then when it comes time to actually record it, then I'm like, wait a minute, I can't hit that. So yeah, but I write that in MIDI too, like my vocal melody, and then later go in and record. Usually at the end, I record the vocals. I think that's ill advised. I should probably do vocals first after drums, maybe because that's the hardest thing to fit into an already busy mix is a voice. So it's probably best to like do the voice first and then craft the sonic elements around that. But and then I do a pass usually after all that of like editing and but usually by that point it's pretty much done outside of like mixing, mastering. Yeah. But the MIDI gets pretty detailed. Like it's precisely what it should be. Like the like in like any kind of like staccato parts where it's like bam, 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 bam. Everything is exactly what it should be. And then I figure out a way to record it very fakey. If my last album, it was nice because it was mostly samples, so I didn't have to do this. But on most of my albums, I'm like, I have my guitars over here and one over here, and like I'm just learn a part. I just loop a little part, and I'm like, dee 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 dee, and record that, and then and then you just spend an hour just learning how to do that, and then it's so faked. Everything's so fake. But okay, it's just the result, and so I'll never play this live. So, I used to play live, but yeah, but that stuff I would write parts for myself that were just like strumming. So, but yeah, that's the whatever answer to what that question was is probably a different question. I don't know. Yep.
That answers a lot. It's funny you say that about learning a part and then doing a loop and then learning another part because that's
Yeah.
how I record guitar whenever I do it.
Oh yeah, I just fake it. I just want the result. I don't care about the. And I used to agonize over it, but I don't. I'm not interested in learning guitar. I just want the sound, and I don't want to use a VST. So I just and I do have fun messing with like the pedals or the sonic elements. So that is fun. But and I'm extremely like it's funny because I have all these instruments and like at Christmas time people are like, "Hey Jay, can you get your guitar and play some songs?" And I'm like, I can't do anything useful on this. I don't even remember anything I wrote on this. So I'm sorry, everybody. I used to have a violin. I would do something similar with that too.
Mm.
Violin's harder to get sounds out of, but I made it work with a lot of. I don't do that anymore. It took way too long for that. I'll just use a BST or I'll hire someone
Mm.
like these air gigs websites or where you can find players if it's a project I care about enough. Like you heard all the probably brass and saxophones and woodwinds and stuff. Saxophone is a woodwind. Anyway, on New Active Object, yeah, that was all real stuff. That was all people from the internet who I either knew or found on like air gigs or something. Yeah.
There's also a big difference in it's a whole other skill for songwriting compared to playing live. So you don't have to be the best at both worlds.
Yeah, man, I like live, but it's just I have kind of a distant dream of wanting to have a band, but it's just so outside of my I sit here and craft things and then alone and then put the result online. That's just different than performing and so I've kind of resigned myself to never doing that really. Maybe
Mm.
one day, but
Would you ever record a video playing and then upload it?
like a video like of me playing something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I could fake some of it. um, maybe in the Bill Wurtzy way. Sometimes you can see him playing some stuff, but nah, not I don't think just straight through live. That would just be the same amount of work, but for much less benefit.
Hmm.
Like, because then you don't have a crowd or anything.
I think that that might be a good time to wrap it up, unless there's anything else you want to talk about specifically.
No, thanks for your thoughtful questions.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, I'll see you around the internet.
Is there anything you'd like to promote or share first?
Oh, sure, my website, jtholen.net. Um, and yeah, that's it.
You can also play his games on Steam, such as Hypnospace Outlaw and Dropsy, and find his music on Spotify. And I think, are you on Bandcamp?
Yeah, Bandcamp, yeah.
Bandcamp, all
Spotify,
that,
YouTube Music, Apple, whatever.
wherever you listen to
Napster.
sounds.